Hi, my name is Mike and I'd like to welcome you to the channel, for which is our first ever video. This week we're going to be taking a standard bowl blank and using some simple techniques we're going to add a nice decorative inlay to the rim. I hope you enjoy the video. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Apart from that, enjoy! One of the great things about using pre-made bowl blanks is that it's nice and easy to set them onto the lathe. Here I'm just using a brad point bit, drilling down about the usual depth that I would like the bowl to be hollowed out to, and you'll see me in a second just starting to screw it onto the worm screw, which I'm just attaching now to the lathe. You'll also notice in a second that I didn't drill that hole directly in the centre. There was a bit of a wobble at the start. We'll just put that down to first video nerves. Here I'm just spending a couple of minutes making sure that the sides and the face are all in balance. This will allow me to pick up the speed, which makes turning an awful lot easier. When I start turning bowl like this, I don't often go in with a preconceived idea of what I want the bowl to look like. I tend to start cutting, taking off the corners, and slowly a shape emerges that you like the look of, and you explore, you take it a bit further, and hopefully at the end you come up with something which is going to be pleasing to the eye. Right, here you see me starting to cut the recess which will fit onto the jaws, which we'll be using for when the bowl's turned around. This is generally my preferred method. I have a lot of success with it, and when you don't have a blanks which are particularly deep, it makes sure that you can get the most out of a bowl and not wasting too much by making a tenon. With my respirator on, I'll start the sanding. Now we're going to be working through from 80 grit up through to about 600. I'm not going to make you sit through all the sanding, so I think we do the first one or two and then we skip towards the end. Now this is Iroko wood, which is quite an open pored wood, so very important before we start sealing it or anything like that. We've got to try and blow out as much as we can from the grain. We do that and then follow it up with some isopropyl alcohol before, as you can see here, hitting it with a shellac sealer. I make this shellac sealer myself and it works pretty well. When the shellac has dried, I get some Yorkshire grit and just give it a good going over to make sure that the surface is as smooth as I can possibly get it. To help remove any leftover grit, we apply a liberal amount of isopropyl alcohol, allow that to dry, and then we can finish off with some Hampshire sheen. And this should finish off the outside of the bowl. Next step, we turn it around. when you've turned it round, if you have a larger bowl, it's sometimes safer to bring up your tailstock just to keep it safe until you've taken it down a little bit. I'm just checking over the surface there to make sure that before I start the inlay that everything is in good shape. Now the first tool I bring there to put the inlay in was as blunt as anything, so I've just quickly switched to the point nose carbide to cut a nice little groove in there where the inlay is going to sit. Now a lot of people tend to use these expensive resins that you have to mix in 2 parts and then leave to cure for 24-48 hours. But here I'm just using a standard clear 5-minute epoxy. I've mixed in a kind of a coffee colour and I'm putting it in with a small wooden stick. Take your time while doing this because you've spent a lot of time sanding and sealing the outside of the bowl, so you don't want to drip anything anywhere. So take your time to try and get it in as evenly as possible. The weight of the resin itself will push itself into gaps, but you can just help it along by just giving it a small prod with your stick. If you try this yourself, you'll soon realise how simple it is. It's just a little bit fiddly and a little bit time consuming. Now one of the main problems you're going to get with any kind of resin is possible bubbles, especially when you had to mix it the way these are mixed. So just applying a little bit of heat, I've got a small blowtorch here which I've gone over a few times, and that does a very good job of getting rid of all the bubbles. Now I took it inside the house to cure because it was very cold in the garage, which is why I'm wearing gloves, which I don't usually do, and it took about an hour and a half to fully set. Using the scraper, just trying to get that surface nice and flat before I start sanding. If you can get hold of one of these negative reg scrapers, they really do a fantastic job of getting any any tears out of your wood or any tool marks. The outside of the bowl was finished off to 600 grit, but the inside I took it all the way up to 1000, just to make sure that the inlay didn't have any sanding marks, which can sometimes be left at 600. Then after that it's onto 2 coats of the shellac sealer, allowed to dry, and then cleaning off with the isopropyl alcohol, and then onto Yorkshire grit, again back with the isopropyl alcohol, and then finishing off with Hamster sheen. And there we have it, an Iroko bowl with a coffee coloured mica powder inlay made with 5-minute epoxy resin. Please stick around for a few beauty shots at the end, but apart from that I hope you enjoyed the production. If you did, please like and subscribe and all the other things people tell you to do, and if you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see or how to make the channel better and grow, then please leave them in the comments. Apart from that, thank you very much indeed for getting this far and staying till the end. Thank you.